It's Friday! And it's time for Friday with Friends. And today, my good guest is, am I pointing the right way? I am, is Via Goode.
Hi,
It is
everybody.
good, right? It's not goody.
It is. It's just plain good. I am
That's
just
what I
plain
thought.
good.
Right.
That's
Just like
what
Johnny B, right?
Yes. And actually, my middle initial is a B.
No way.
It,
So Via Be Good. Why don't
it
you go
is.
by that? I would totally, if that was my name, I'd be like, I'm going with the Be Good. I'm going with that.
I did before I became a storyteller. I did.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. In my other professional lives, it was via Be Good. So, anyway, thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for agreeing to do this. It was all a bit last minute. I was thinking of taking a week off, and then Via got in touch and said, if you ever want, and I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I was
So thanks for joining me. I love your background, by the way. It's very pastel and summerish.
Well,
And I just have to share what we've got here in New London because it's not quite so summerish at all. In fact, it's very unsummerish.
It definitely is. I like to visit snow. I don't like to live in snow.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point in my life where I'm starting to think about that. Yes. So, Vi, how'd you get into storytelling? Actually, what were you before you were a storyteller? Sorry, I'm interrupting already.
That's okay. Before I was a storyteller, I've done a lot of things, pretty much all sales related. So the only thing I didn't sell was vinyl siding. But other than that, I've pretty much sold everything. I got into storytelling. I was a preschool teacher, so kind of similar to how Misty was saying she kind of was there in that environment. I was a preschool teacher, and we were having a storyteller come in, and all the parents were asking me, well, what is it? And I said, I have no idea. Maybe it's somebody who dresses up like Mother Goose and reads from, I have no idea what a storyteller does. Right. And I can't remember this woman's name. I don't think she stayed in the business very long. I think she had some health problems. But when she came in, she shared stories without books. She was not dressed like Mother Goose, thank goodness. But she performed the stories for the children, and the children were so engaged. I had so much fun watching their faces, watching them be so mesmerized. And I thought, wow, I need to be doing that. When I was younger, I would go to amusement parks and I would love the rides, but most of the time I would watch the shows. So I thought, this is what I need to be doing. And fortunately, the preschool where I worked, that woman owned 3 other preschools. So she allowed me to practice on all of those other schools. And I had just become a single mom, and I thought, my daughter, she's one of those kids that just really likes to eat in June and July and August when the preschool is closed. Mm-hmm. So I was going to have to find some way to feed her when the preschool was closed. And so I just kind of did my research. I went online to see what I'd need to do. Thankfully, there was Google back then, because that was 10, 13 years ago. And I looked for storytelling organizations in my area. Mm-hmm. And Virginia Storytelling Alliance popped up, and I looked on the directory to see if there was anybody that I lived near, and there was somebody who lived in Hampton, and I went to her website, and she was going to be performing at the Chrysler Museum of Art, which is a pretty well-established museum in Norfolk. So I called her. And I said, I know your performance is open to the public, but it's geared toward children. Would it be okay if I came and watched? And she was so welcoming. Yes, absolutely. Come watch. And I did. And I was mesmerized. And after the performance was over, I went up and introduced myself. I stood out. I was the only one over the age of 5 pretty much there. So she knew who I was. But I introduced myself. And she then introduced me to the director of education at the museum. And she introduced me like this. This is my dear friend, Via. If you ever need a storyteller, she is phenomenal. If you can't get me booked, this is who you need to go to next. she'd never, I mean, she didn't even know me. She was just so wonderful. Sheila Arnold. I know that's not a surprise to you now when you
No,
know.
it's not at all. But,
Sheila Arnold did that. Yes.
She took a big risk doing that. I mean, you could have
Didn't
been
she?
absolutely blooming awful.
I know. And I obviously thanked her profusely, and I called her afterwards and said, you know, and what she said to me was, nobody understands what storytelling is. I trust you to do right by us. Do your research, be good at what you do. The more we promote other storytellers, the more work there will be for all storytellers.
Yeah.
Which is so true. And I was fortunate enough that education director did call me. Sheila wasn't available, and she did call me, and I started doing the program that Sheila had been doing. And after that, Sheila then introduced me to an organization called Young Audiences. They're a national organization.
Right, yeah.
And I got on their roster. I joined them in 2012, and I was fortunate enough that they started booking me. And so I was able to get my foot in the door with some public schools. I had been doing private schools. I had been knocking on doors, and I'm a preschool teacher, and I know how to tell stories, and here's my flyer, and call me if you ever need anybody.
Nice.
I had done that. But I couldn't get into public schools. But because Sheila had encouraged me to reach out to young audiences, and then they brought me on their roster, they were able to get me into some public venues. So
good.
Yeah. So
Mo Reynolds just chimed in. Mo Reynolds says, "I called that one before I heard the name."
Oh,
she knew it. She knew it was going to be Sheila, of course. And I don't know if you know Andy Davis, but he says hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Andy. It's good to see you. Or hear you. Know that you're here.
Right.
And Kristen Pedamonte says, yes, Miss Sheila Arnold, so generous she is.
Yes, she absolutely is.
And Jessica said, I started typing that before you named her. So everybody knows that Sheila Arnold, as Rachel Hedman says, is phenomenal. She is. She's freaking awesome. I love Sheila.
Yes. And I am blessed that she mentors me. I mean, she actually puts me under her wing and mentors me. So yes, I'm very blessed. Speaking of Rachel, and
Rachel Hedman?
Yes, I shared this with her on a Discord meeting a while back, but shout out to her too. When I first started doing the research that Sheila had she trusted me to do, there wasn't a lot online, or I didn't know how to access it on YouTube or whatever. So I was listening to podcasts, and I found a podcast by somebody named Brother Wolf. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. And Rachel Hedman was one of the first podcasts that I listened to. Hers, Kevin Cordy, I can't remember who else, but they were the first ones. And Rachel, she would have been quite young at the time I was listening to this.
Like 4 or 5.
Well, I know she was on the national stage at that point, so she might have been a teenager, but yeah, it was quite young. Yeah. But it made an indelible impression.
That's so cool. So I didn't know that Rachel Hedman had been doing storytelling for that long. That's really cool to know.
Yes. I
mean, so when I started, which was like over here professionally, that was 2003, and then I started. It took me a while to get into like the group and listservs because I thought there weren't too many people doing it, and then I heard about Odds Bodkin, and he's just down the road in Bradford.
Oh,
so we're buds now, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
You know, when I saw him, it was just like, wow, he's so good, and he gave me permission to do a lot of things that I wasn't sure if I should be doing or not.
Right.
Like sound effects and all that kind of stuff. You know, and character voices, which I was kind of doing already, but he you know, he kind of let me know that it was actually okay, and I just went, well, this is great if I can do that. So well, yeah, it's. You
were actually the one that made me feel like, okay, I can continue, because I would never share stories in front of adults unless they happen to be the ones that the children were sitting on the laps of. But when I first saw you online, I haven't seen you in person, I haven't been fortunate enough, I was like, that's what I do too. Those crazy voices and I thought, okay, when you say give permission, it can be kind of scary when you aren't seeing a lot of it. after I had seen Sheila, the very next person I ever saw in person was Donald Davis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a
and
bit different. Yeah.
yes,
That's
but
really different. Yeah.
right. So, and I took a workshop from him, and it was wonderful, but it was so drastically different from what I was doing that
Right. Because you're doing like little kids.
I was, and I still, that's still my bread and butter. Although I've been blessed, we were talking about this off screen, but I've been blessed that Jessica Robinson is allowing me to share stories with adults next Saturday. So if you don't already have
Which,
your
by
ticket,
the way, Jessica went out to a massive listserv where it said this storyteller, Via Goode, is a great family children's entertainer. So just as a heads up, Jessica, if you're still watching this, you might want to mention at the top of the show, your show, Better Said Than Done, that this is an adult show. In case there are kids there expecting Via Goode to be telling Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall or whatever.
yes, yes.
Humpty
Oh
Dumpty
my
sat on a
goodness.
wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men had scrambled egg for breakfast.
Yes, they did.
They did. They
And now
did.
you made all the kids cry.
I know, right? I like when I was doing kids stuff. It was, I got this dark sense of humor, so I always do the itsy bitsy spider, and then I'd be like, the great big hairy spider went up the water spout, and all the kids are like,
I actually do. Mine is the big and hairy spider. Like,
oh, really?
do the same thing. That's hilarious that we do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yes. I haven't been in that kind of age group for a while. I've missed
No,
them.
I have to say, with COVID, I've missed being in person. Doing a live stream for little kids is just not the same. Their cameras are
It's
off. They have to be muted because they don't know how to be quiet.
right.
Not that much fun.
Yeah. Well, I think with I mean, when I same with you. When I started, there was, there's a lot of library, like what were they called? Story times, right?
Right.
And so there'd be a lot of little kids, and for that, it's all you need to do is to provide them a safe space, a few distractions, and a little activity at the end, and some apples and grapes for them to choke on afterwards, cut up into teeny tiny pieces.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny, yeah. And it's really difficult to get your head around it when you work with little kids, and it's like, well, here
Right.
are some buttons, and so buttons, it's like my
Well,
job is done.
it's funny to me when I still do a lot of daycare centers, and they always ask, can we bring in the infants? I'm thinking, well, you can bring in anyone you want. They're not going to be able to follow the story, but I can try to keep them engaged. So, you add songs and chants and things that maybe but what I've started
Right.
saying to the directors is, they're familiar with circle time where there's books. When
Mm-hmm.
they're in front of me, these toddlers, these 1 and 2 year olds, they're looking at me like, what is wrong with this person? Like, first of all, where is her book? And why is she talking like that? And why is she acting like that? So
So
I
I'm going
got
to tell you a story.
like,
You're going to imagine the pictures, children.
right. Yeah. So it doesn't work as well for that age group, but they still
No,
bring them in.
they do.
They're always telling me, you're the only one who will perform for these. And I'm like, yeah, because everyone else is smarter than I am because,
Yes. Well, desperate, right?
yeah, I've been trying to get them to group them with the 3-year-olds because at least a
Yeah.
2-year-old, when they're watching a 3-year-old laugh, they're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's safe. Like what you were just
Right,
saying,
right.
it's safe. It's okay. This lady isn't
Right.
crazy and she isn't going to hurt me. They're laughing, so it's okay.
You get that?
They just have this
I
terror.
can imagine walking into a room filled with little kids, and the kids are like backing away with their eyes getting wider and wider.
They're like, no, it's a, well, if you've done a lot of daycares, you know that they cry when they go outside to play. Like
Well, that's
transitions are
true.
hard to begin
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, so I don't have
Maybe
to.
that's the problem I had. I walked in with a baseball bat going thump, thump, thump. Oh no!
Yes, and the
Oh, dear,
bag,
it's too
they weren't sure what was in that bag you were carrying. Was that another child? Like, what did you do?
Well, there were a few bones sticking out and some red stains on it. That might have been something to do with it.
No.
So hang on, we've got some comments here. So I want to a big so I want to do a big shout out to Rachel because she is a phenomenal force in storytelling, and I do recognize that. I just had no idea that she'd been doing it since 1994. I mean,
Yeah.
she must have been a teenager then. I mean, it's
She was,
crazy.
yes. The
Yeah.
first time I saw her, it was a film. It was on YouTube, and she was quite young. I don't know if she was a teenager, but I know that she had started as a teenager. And while you're shouting out to her, I do want to mention, I just looked. She released it yesterday. It's a storytelling basics course, an 8-hour
Oh,
course.
right. I signed up for that. I want to look at that.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I clicked on it this morning, and I've already done module 2. I skipped module 1. I'm going to go back to it. Module 2. I needed to get ready for today, so I needed to
Okay.
module 2.
What was module 2? I kind of like glanced at them, but I didn't see what it was. What was module
Well, it was
2?
basically
What made you do module 2 to get ready for this?
how to put a story together, because as I've shared with you, I've never shared a story with adults before. And so this is terrible, but I do folk tales. The story's already there. All I'm doing is making it mine. And typically I'm taking several versions and kind of melding them together. And then I'm making it participatory, and adults don't like to participate as much.
Yeah, a lot of them, yes.
They're more self-conscious.
I mean, I make adults participate. I'm horrible. I'm a real bully when it comes to adults. You know, I'll the kids are all doing it, and I'll look at, especially like in a school, it's the teachers as well.
Oh, yeah.
I look at the teachers and say, you got to do this as well.
Right.
You know, you expect your kids to do this stuff without you doing it? Come on, people, let's do this, right?
Right. Well, I do that too. I meant when I'm telling to an adult audience.
Right, yeah.
They don't like the participation of some of the stories. So, yeah.
So other storytellers do.
Yay. Well, good.
They do. Yeah. I mean, I've been to, you go to any storytelling conference and go to an Olio, there'll be storytellers that will be like, all right, we're going to have some participation now. And, there's call and response. And storytellers love it. And librarians do too. When I've done showcases for librarians, in New Hampshire and Vermont, you should, definitely do call and response. Librarians are some of the best audiences ever. I mean, absolutely, hands down. When I get to do a showcase in New Hampshire or Vermont with the librarians, they're absolutely brilliant. You can't beat them.
I haven't done that yet. I have done several professional developments with preschool teachers and elementary teachers, and they participate and they love it. I have to tell you though, where I come from, at least with the younger crowd, we don't call it call and response. We call it Nito Repeato. And I'm the Nito and you are the Repeato. Just saying.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because call and response is a complicated sentence. I get that. So Jessica did respond. She says the show starts at 8 p.m. on Saturday. I think we'll be okay. All kids will be in bed by then. I wouldn't bank on that. I've done shows like in libraries that start at 8 o'clock, and parents have showed up with the kids, and the kids are like, "Why are you dragging me here, Mom?" And it's like, because he's a really good kid storyteller, and it's like, not tonight. I'm not.
Right.
It's like, oops.
Yeah, I know.
But fortunately, those gigs are free. And what does what does Kevin say? Adults will play, right? Yes.
Yeah, Kevin is right.
Yeah, he is right.
Yeah, Kevin, were you on when I said you were one of the first ones I heard on Brother Blue? Not Brother Blue, Brother Wolf. Sorry.
Brother Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Wolf. Yeah. He was good. I haven't heard of him. I haven't heard his stuff for a long time. But
I haven't either.
I listened to quite a few of his shows. Me too. I've waited until every adult is participate. Yes. There you go. That's the phrase right there. I've got all day.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And they've locked the doors, so you're not going anywhere either.
That's right.
And they join in and they love it. Oh, even the World Bank. Yeah, because Kristen's done a lot of work at World Bank, which is very, very cool.
Right.
Hang on, who are we? So Janice Del Negro. Yes, we are. I think she's referring to librarians being the best audience in the world.
They are.
And Misty, she does call and response. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about Nido Repeato.
Oh, come on.
Because it's like, it makes me feel that I'm needy. I need you to repeat. Please repeat.
Oh, no.
That's just me.
It's Nito, Neato. Nito, like cool.
Oh,
I'm Nito.
okay.
You are Repeato, not Nito.
Americans and your T's and D's, you get them all mixed up. It drives me bonkers. Well, your kids are in bed because you wrap them up in duct tape and put them in a box in the basement, Jessica. Come on, we all know that. If there's
My
anyone from
God.
Child Services listening, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right? That's what I was thinking, Misty. My daughter, oh my gosh, she, 10 o'clock at night when she was like 10. It's like, really? Can you go to bed?
That's how
I'm
long.
exhausted.
Yeah.
I want to go to bed.
I remember going to the pediatrician and saying, my daughter just will not go to bed. And the answer was, do you know adults that don't need 8 hours of sleep? I said, well, her mother does. I don't know about this other adult. Her mother does.
Kevin says no, he wasn't at the beginning, but he says thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to whiz through some of these comments. Kristen Pedamonte, you're my hero, says Misty Mater. Well, I like that. Janice says, yes, I am. I'm not really sure what Misty Mater was talking about when she goes, ooh. Oh, that's what she's referring to. Nito, repeato.
Nito.
Yes.
Nito.
Brother Wolf just moved to Hawaii and is working as a therapist. And somebody else said he is collecting, researching galore the tales found there. Researching galore the tales. Maybe that means global? I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, should be in bed. Yes, that's more like it. Just, yeah.
Should be is true. Yes, that's the key word. Should be.
Oh, and apparently Brother Wolf does narrative therapy work as well, which is something that Kristen does.
Right.
And has been doing, but now she's learning to do it with that title because she didn't know about it.
I took
She didn't
her.
have a label for it.
I think it was called informed trauma, but I'm not 100% sure. But right when COVID hit, I was fortunate enough to meet Kristen that way, taking one of those workshops. Yeah,
she's amazing.
She's
She's really good at that stuff.
Wonderful.
Yeah. She has a huge heart the size of a planet.
Yeah, and she's such a tiny little thing to house that big heart.
I mean, she says she's like 4.5 or 5.5. I'm not.
Yeah, she's little.
Yeah, I haven't met her yet. I mean, I think we did, but it was a long time ago, and I don't know why I wouldn't have logged her, because if I did meet her, she would have been wearing a pink tutu, and I think that would have stuck in my mind.
You would think.
So I don't. Yes, you'd think.
You would think that would stick in your mind. Yes.
You would.
I can't pull that off. The pink tutu. I can't pull it off.
I can actually. If I shave my legs, I can. Yes, and before in my 20s, I looked very good in a dress. Actually, I have to say.
Oh. Yes, that's interesting. A conversation starter.
Or we could end it right there. But yes.
And why would you know that, Simon?
Well, because I've tried dresses and skirts and things on. There were. So in England, it's not a big deal, right? I mean, guys dress up as women, and it's not anything. People don't feel uncomfortable about it. But you come over here, and you give a guy a hug, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, that was a huge culture shock for me, because I used to be a massive hugger, and America kind of squished it out of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all good. I survived. I'm trying to look at some of these comments because they're coming in so fast. I have a friend who did this. You do not have to go to sleep, but after 8 o'clock, you have to stay upstairs. The parents' service is... Yeah, we do that. We do duty off, actually, in our house. It's like duty off. If you need something, you're on your own. When Perry was 3, it didn't work so well.
I remember I was sitting downstairs, and my daughter, she probably was 3 or 4 years old, but I still had the baby monitor so that I could hear what was happening upstairs. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, she was standing right beside me and scared the living daylights out of me. Somehow, she managed to come all the way down the stairs, walk through the house, and come to where I was sitting without my knowing about it. And I thought, okay, she needs to be asleep before I leave the room, because she's somehow able to do that ninja thing.
Right. Isn't that what they made NyQuil for?
Again, social services. Let's hope they're not watching this.
I know, it's true. So Misty wants to know what one of your favorite stories is that you tell.
I have a lot of favorites. I like to tell a folktale from Cuba. Simon knows which one I'm talking about. I can't name it because it gives away the story. I I tell almost everything I tell is folk tales, actually.
Right.
So, but there are a couple of other stories that I really like. I let's see. Woodcutter and His Wife is one that I like to tell. I like to tell the Magic Porridge Pot. Everything I tell though is participatory. So I love Anansi stories. I share Anansi and wisdom. I share that story.
Is there anybody here who does not like Anansi stories? Please make a comment now. We'll have no comments because everybody loves Anansi stories. One of the things I'd love to do is to go over to Africa and collect a whole slew of Anansi stories.
Yeah. Yes, that would be fun.
She agrees that she actually says, I think she's saying yes, that she likes Anansi. She just said, yes, Anansi. So I'm assuming that means yes and not, no, I hate Anansi. Like, she's not saying, yes, I don't like Anansi.
Right. I tell a couple of stories that I have been given permission by. They were actually in, I'm sure you're familiar with, shoot, I just forgot what the name of it is. I'm gonna look it up on my paper. Don't watch me looking this up.
Let me just make myself full screen.
Sorry. Ready to Tell Tales.
Oh yeah,
David Holt and Bill Mooney. That was the very
one. Yeah.
That was the first book that I ever got, and I lucked into it. My library was, you're not going to believe this, but they have a book sale once a month, and children's books are 25 cents. 25 cents. And this was listed in the children's section. So I got this book, I got more Ready to Tell Tales, and I got pretty much every storytelling book that Margaret Reed MacDonald had ever written, all for 25 cents. I got a book from Pleasant Disdain and from Heather Forrest, Beauty and the Beast tellers. I mean, I just stocked my entire library with books from other people. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So when they were asking about favorite stories, I tell the Belly Button Monster. I don't know if you're familiar. I love that story. Yeah.
It's not one that I tell, but I do like it. It's a fun story.
Yeah.
It's a fun story. So do you want to tell one of your stories? Maybe one from Cuba?
I could try. Is everyone going to participate? We've had this.
Yes, they are.
Storytellers are great at participating. I was last night not to ask for permission, not to ask for participation, but I don't know that I can get it out of me because it's so ingrained in how I do it. But yeah, I can try that story.
All right, so everyone is commenting. They're saying yes. Oh no, yes. Oh, that's one of the first books I owned, I guess. So yes. But Rachel is. We are willing to participate. Here's Crow says yes.
Oh yay! Thank you. That's what I love about this community.
Misty Mater, yes, tell. But Misty, you have to participate. All right, get your kids, drag them out of the box that you've hidden them in while we're on the show, and have them. Yes, see, Kristen says yes, please. We'll totally participate. So here we go.
Okay.
Even I'll participate. I'm not going to mute myself, so I'll try and participate quietly. If you participate us.
Okay. All right. Well, and normally I would tell this standing up, so we're not going to do that part.
No, because it would just don't do that.
Yeah, we won't do that part. Okay. So this is a story about a family of mice. There's a mother mouse, a father mouse, a brother mouse, and a sister mouse. And mom is homeschooling her children, and it's summer. So the children want to have a break. But mother said, oh, no. I do not want your little mice minds to turn to mush. We are going to continue learning. In fact, I've been thinking about it, and I feel very strongly that you need to learn a second language. Now, what is a mouse's first language?
Mouse.
Squeak.
Squeak.
Yes, squeak. So many people say English. It's not English. It's squeak. And so she tells her children, I'm going to teach you Spanish. And they are moaning and groaning, not because they don't want to learn, but because it's summer and they feel like they shouldn't have to do schoolwork. But she is very insistent. And she says, we're going to start with the basics. We're going to start with hola. That means hello. Can you do that with me? Hola.
Hola.
Adios. That means goodbye.
Adios.
Right. And she does that over and over and over and over and over again until the mice children are like, Mama, this is boring. Can't we learn something else? And she said, nope, 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 nope. We're going to stick with this. Again, it's very important for everyone to know at least 2 languages. So then she goes into the numbers. If you can count to 10 in Spanish, do it with me. Uno, dos,
Uno,
tres,
dos, tres,
cuatro.
cuatro,
With
cinco.
me. Cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez. And she does that repeatedly until once again, you've guessed it, they're a little bit bored. Well, about that time, Papa Mouse walks into the room. What's all the whining about? You know I don't like whining. And Mother Mouse throws up her hands in exasperation and says, your children, they will not learn from me. And Papa Mouse says, well, maybe it's time for a little bit of a break. It is summer. How about if we go on a picnic? I think a picnic's a great idea. Don't you think a picnic's a great idea? Let's grab the basket. Let's go on a break. And so that's what they do. They grab the picnic basket and they start stuffing it with things that mice like to eat. Can you think of anything? Cheese, of course. How about macaroni and
Biscuits.
cheese? Cheese, yes, biscuits, cheese doodles, cheese puffs, cheesecake, cheese pizza.
Cheesy puffs.
Exactly. Fill up the basket. And when it was completely full, they headed out to a field where they were going to have their picnic. They spread out a blanket and they dumped the food onto the blanket and then they gobbled it up. And it was gone just like that. And then Papa said, oh, that was a good picnic. I think I need to take a nap. And he lay down by a tree in the shade and he fell asleep. Now, Brother Mouse and Sister Mouse, when they had finished eating, they got up and they started chasing each other around that very same tree. Tag, you're it. Tag, you're it. And Mother Mouse came running over and said, shh, you're going to wake your father up. And Sister Mouse said, but Mama, we want to play. And Mother Mouse said, shh, you're going to wake your father up. This is the only peace and quiet I get. Brother Mouse said, well, Mama, way over there at the edge of the field, there's a big fence. Could we play over by the fence? That way you could see us and we'd be safe and we wouldn't wake up Papa. And Mother Mouse peered over there and she thought, that looks fairly safe. But she warned her children, you see that fence? Do not go past that fence. I'm fairly certain on the other side of that fence is El Gato and he will gobble you up. Said Sister Mouse. And Mother Mouse said, have I not been teaching you Spanish? El gato means the cat in Spanish. Do not go beyond that fence. And Brother Mouse said, we promise we will not go beyond the fence, Mama. So Sister Mouse and Brother Mouse went running to the edge of the field. They scurried over there. They were playing hide and seek. They were picking flowers. They were playing some more tag. And then Brother Mouse noticed in the fence was a hole. And he went up and he peered into that hole. And sure enough, on the other side of the fence was El Gato. El Gato was cleaning his whiskers and he was flicking his tail. And he was cleaning his whiskers and he was flicking his tail. And Brother Mouse, he stared at that cat. And then he said, nanny, nanny, nanny. Woo! Sister Mouse took off running. She ran all the way back. Mama, Mama, brothers, activists, there's all, I'm scared. And Mother Mouse said, shh, you're gonna wake your father up. And Sister Mouse said, I know, but Brother T El Gato, and I think that cat's gonna gobble us up and I'm scared. And she ran and she hid behind Mama Mouse. Back at the fence, Brother Mouse was still peering through that hole. He was still watching El Gato. El Gato was still cleaning his whiskers and flicking his tail, and cleaning his whiskers and flicking his tail. And Brother Mouse did it again. Nanny, nanny, nanny. Woo! That time, El Gato hopped up on top of the fence, and he peered down at Brother Mouse, and he licked his lips. And Brother Mouse said, yikes! And he ran all the way back. Mama, Mama, at the fence, there's a hole. I'm scared. And what do you think Mama Mouse said? Shh,
Your
you're gonna
father's
wake your
asleep.
father up. And Brother Mouse said, I know, but I teased Elgato and I think that cat's going to come and gobble us up and I'm scared. And he ran and he hid behind Sister Mouse. Well, all that fussing and carrying on, it did wake up Papa. Oh, what's all the commotion about? And Sister Mouse pointed at her brother and she said, he did it. Did what? He teased that cat and now Elgato's going to come and gobble us up and I'm scared. And Papa Mouse smiled and said, oh, Elgato, that silly old cat. I'm not afraid of Elgato. I'll punch him in the nose. That's what I'll do. I'll punch him in the nose. Meanwhile, Elgato had hopped down off that fence and he was walking through the field very quietly, sneaking up on that family of mice. And Papa was still bragging, I'll punch him in the nose. That's what I'll do. I'll punch him in the nose. He's right behind me, isn't he? And the whole family nodded because he was. And do you know what Papa Mouse did? He ran and he hid behind Brother Mouse. So now you have Mama Mouse, and then you have Sister Mouse, and Brother Mouse, and Papa Mouse. And Elgato is getting closer and closer and closer. And Mother Mouse is thinking, what am I going to do? I have to do something. That cat's going to gobble up me and my whole family. I have to do something. And just as Elgato was about to pounce, Mama Mouse turned and she looked at that cat and she said, whoa, 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 whoa. And Elgato took off running. And then Mama Mouse looked at her family and said to her children in particular, that's why it's important for everyone to know another language.
Boom.
Thank you.
I like that. I like the fact. So I think that the cat should have got Dad for being such a grumpy one. And I kind of liked. So I have to say that I kind of liked. There was a little bit of Snagglepuss in Dad. I'll punch him in the mouth. I'll punch him in the mouth. She's mine. Do you remember Snagglepuss?
Yes, I'm old enough to the Snagglepuss.
I know. Snagglepuss was one of those ones that made it over to the UK. Wasn't he pink
good.
or something like that? Was Snagglepuss pink?
Yes, pinkish purple, I think, maybe the same color as what I want. I do have to say, though, when I share that story with children, I have to, at the end, say, now, is it nice to punch anyone in the nose?
Yes.
And then I make them raise their hand and say, okay, I promise, I will not. Because otherwise the teachers are like, you just set us up. You just set us up for all these kids running. I'm going to punch him in the nose.
See, now I'm going to have to look up some of Snagglepuss's catchphrases, because I remember there used to be some catchphrases, and I can't think what they were. I used to love Snagglepuss.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's excellent. I like that. Did everybody else like that? There's a lot of comments here.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of them were
answering. They were participating, right?
They were participating. Yeah.
Thank you, friend.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of participation. See, I can't say that word. Participation. I had to think about that word. I'm literally laughing over this. The only quiet I get. Uh-oh. Shh. Yeah, Tag, you're it. Meow. Yeah, there's tons of comments. I'm not going to read all of those, but there was El Gato, the teeth of El Gato.
Yes. Thank you.
Right. Andy Davis even said, nice cat, cleaning the whiskers with you. Great frantic telling to Mama Mouse. I know, I like frantic telling. It's fun.
Thank you.
I do that with the goat from the hills and the mountains, which is always, that's
I
always
just saw that you did it. You had done it before, but I saw it when was it Weber University? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yes.
I just watched
Weber.
that again.
Yeah.
Weber, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I love
like that. They always ask for it. And it's like, all right, okay.
I love that telling. Yeah. First time I ever heard a storyteller share the Three Billy Goats Gruff was Diane de las Casas. And I know Misty referred to her. She was also one of the first books that I ever got. And then Priscilla Howe. She does.
Oh, she's made, yeah.
She's I love. Nice lady. Yeah, I love her storytelling too. So.
Yeah, we're a good community, I have to say. We are a
Yeah.
good community. There's a lot of
Very,
really good people out there.
yeah. And very
Kevin
welcoming.
says, thank you for the warm fun
Aw,
and
thank you, Kevin.
voices. Yeah. Misty Mater, it was great. Norris Spencer,
Oh,
this was delightful vibe. Is this the Norris you were telling me about earlier?
it is, yes. She was the one who
Yes.
told me not to ask questions.
Right.
But yeah, but
Rachel Hedman is another Snagglepuss fan. I like that.
oh, yay.
Oh, in fact, Rachel shared with me the link for the fandom website of Snagglepuss, so I'm going to have to go on there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Jessica Robinson, she says, great story, Misty Mater, participatory.
Thank you.
You're having a donut bag tour. I am having a donut bag tour. Donate bag, yes. Yeah, Misty is. Yeah, Misty says that Priscilla is great. She is. Heavens to Murgatroyd. That's it. Heavens to Murgatroyd.
I didn't
That's what
know
he used
that
to
was him, but I say that all the time.
Oh, you do? Yes, that was Janice. Janice got it. Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Thank you, Janice. Oh, yeah. I say that all
Yay.
the time. My daughter looks at me like, what in the world does that even mean?
I know, right? It's like Dick Dastardly and Muttley, you know. It's like.
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Oh, my dear.
So,
So you're going to try and learn some, or you try and go into. Hell yeah. So
Back
are you
up.
going to try and reinvent yourself as a storyteller for more grown-up type peoples?
I think I need to do both. As we were discussing, I learned the hard way through the pandemic. You think you have something that's never going to go away, like schools,
Yes.
and then they shut down.
Aren't we always going to have education? No, apparently not.
And unfortunately, more than 80% of the performing that I have done for the last 10 years has been in private schools, and they did not have the technology to pivot. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I couldn't, they had me booked through the whole summer. None of them were canceling. They wanted me to come out and perform outside, which is great, except when the heat index is over 90 and they don't take their kids outside, or it's raining. And so I was able last summer to do a few socially distanced with my shield and mask. I took the mask off for the performing, but kept my shield on and the kids were masked. But when it was too hot or it was raining, we just had to cancel. And even now, the majority of those centers, those private preschools, they have little iPads. You can't get 10 kids around an iPad and watch somebody virtually. So, yeah, so I kind of have to make a little bit of a pivot because, like I said, I learned the hard way. I do have, I'm fortunate enough, I counted, I have 19 venues on the books for this summer. But normally, thank you, normally I would have 10 a week.
Wow.
And that's
Good for you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's on a much smaller scale. I'm not going to, a large auditorium. It's a small little private preschool, and I'm usually doing one or two performances, like they'll combine classes. So I'll do.
Do they pay you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not.
If I was getting paid to do 10 gigs, I mean, in the summer, I'm usually doing 10 gigs a week. Yeah. I mean.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, in a normal year, it's crazy.
Right.
I'll be doing like
summer,
2 or 3 gigs a day sometimes in the summer, which is freaking awesome. But
it is, and that's what pays for the food the rest of the year.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But and your daughter, she's in college now, right?
She graduates.
So she's
4 weeks from tomorrow. She graduates.
Wow. So she can feed herself, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right.
She can.
Is it just the one that you have, or do you have
It
others?
is. Yes. I prayed for twins, and God knew exactly what I could handle, and He gave me one quiet, sweet little girl. He's like, oh, no, careful what you pray for.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I was very happy with our children, and I think Providence definitely. My mother always is. She was like, when I was born, my mum said that was my grand's revenge, and Perry was. Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And when Perry was born, it was kind of like she is so like me. My mother's like.
Oh, well, I have to say, if my daughter,
she's a great kid, though.
Yes, I'm sure she is. Well, you're a great guy. If I wasn't at her birth, I would believe that she wasn't mine because she is absolutely nothing like me. She's very quiet. She's very cautious, and she just likes to observe. And I tend to be more like a bull in a china closet most of the time.
Cool.
Which was funny
Nice.
when you said it was going to be a chill thing. I was like, he doesn't know me very well. I don't know how to.
Well, I don't. I mean, we don't, do we? I mean, we've the first time we've actually spoken. I mean, we've communicated in messages and stuff.
Right.
But you know, the first time we spoke was yesterday.
Yesterday, yes. No,
it was yesterday. Yeah.
We had we did a couple of festivals together online with Sheila way back at the beginning of COVID. We did a couple, so we might have messaged through the chat.
That was when your hair was up here, though.
Yeah, I have COVID hair. We talked about that. Not being able to get to a hairstylist and get it cut. Yes, I do.
I got scissors. I can. Yeah, I do my own. So yeah, it's. Congrats, Mom, says Andy Davis. Yes.
Oh, thanks.
It's a big thing. Graduation. So one of the things I always wonder about with kids, because I mean, I see that there are certain things that my kids do that I can see that are either from myself or my wife, right? But there's also a lot of things that I see from my kids that are actually from my half sister or my sister-in-law. So I think aunts and uncles play quite a large.
Absolutely.
I mean, the gene pool isn't just, I don't think, direct.
Right.
I mean, my daughter's laugh is just like my sister's laugh. It's like when she's getting a giggle fest, it's just like listening to my baby sister, who's now like 2 kids herself now, which is kind of crazy. So,
I have accidentally called my daughter by my sister's name and vice versa, because they are more similar than my daughter is to me in a lot of ways. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So she takes after your sister then. That's what.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The parts I like about my sister, my daughter has.
Well, that's a good thing, because if there were parts you didn't like
about your
right? Sister, you remind me just like my sister. Not a good parts either. Where's that box?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear. So what have you got plans? Have you got plans for the summer? You said you got a whole bunch of gigs coming up.
I do, and there's one coming up this Saturday, which I think we've already plugged.
We have.
Yes, so that's wonderful. Better said than done. Can't plug it enough. Thank you again, Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica's freaking awesome.
Yes, she is. She is awesome. Other than those what I have on the books, I mean, normally by January my summer is booked, but I think all of the schools that I typically go to, we're kind of crossing fingers and standing on one leg, waiting to see if everything would be opening up as normal. So those, I'm hoping those 19 will turn into another dozen or so more. But
I'm hoping the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like doing outdoors, but I prefer it to live stream, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because of the interaction.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if outdoors is prepped well, it's not bad. It can be a lot of fun, I think. There's a couple of regular gigs that I do up in Lebanon for the Parks and Rec department, and those are usually outdoors.
Right.
We actually had a thunderstorm right at the end. I was just starting the last story, and the thunderstorm hit, and I've got like a mic, a headset, wireless headset on. So I took it off and like threw it onto this covered stage area, and I jumped down off the stage because there are these huge, beautiful yew trees and pine trees, and all the kids like vanished under the trees, and so I ran, and I was like still performing it and soaking wet under the trees, which was brilliant. And then I was like, do any of the kids want to come out and dance in the rain? Because as a kid, I used to love dancing out in the rain.
Right.
And then, fortunately, I always have a towel in the back of my car. I don't know why I always carry a towel, but I do. But there's a towel in the back of my car, so I was able to stick it on the car seat, so I didn't drench the car seat.
Oh my God.
Hang on, Misty Mater has a question. Any advice, Via, based on your experience doing socially distant schools with preschoolers who haven't done one yet? I'll read that again. Any advice based on your experience doing socially distant shows with preschoolers who haven't yet done one?
And so is it the preschoolers haven't had a performance, or you have, or Misty hasn't done one with them? I guess I don't.
No, the preschoolers haven't done one.
Okay. If they've never ever done one, then to me, the sky's the limit. What was hard for me was going in when they had an expectation of like they're used to being up and close to me. They're used, and you have to be distance from them, and they have to sit distance from each other, which unfortunately means a lot of times they're sitting in chairs, and I don't like it when the children
Oh
are in
no.
chairs. That's,
So here's
go ahead.
so what I did last year when all this started happening and we were trying to figure out ways of doing this, because I was working with a lot of my venues trying to make sure that I didn't lose gigs.
Right.
And one of the things that we came up with, which worked really, really well, there's two things that worked really, really well. But the most common one was that we got massive hula hoops, or the
Mm-hmm.
venues got massive hula hoops, and they spaced them out, and there was a few feet between each one of them. So if the kids were in the middle, then they were at least 6 feet apart.
Right.
And if they were kind of lying down, they were still, close to 6 feet apart.
Right.
And that way they were sitting on the grass. There was no need for chairs. They could lay down, they could roll around, and they could be, they could imagine this little force field around them protecting them, which was really, really cool.
Right.
And then another thing that one of the venues that I worked at did, they actually used that spray paint for sports fields.
Right.
And they sprayed out markings, because the grass grows and it gets mowed, so it's not a big deal anyway.
Right.
And if it's on dirt, then it gets kicked away as soon as everybody leaves anyway. So those things weren't really a big issue. But that's how some of the places I worked at dealt with things.
Right.
And a lot of places that I worked at, we put, those little kind of like baseball, like there's little cones, but the low ones.
Right.
We
Right.
would make a wall between me and the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And the audience had to be, what I recommended. I mean, it was because choirs were doing 25 feet away, because that's how far, when they're singing, your mouth
Projecting.
vapor
Right.
projects. Yeah. So, it was 25 feet. And so that's what I said, we would measure out approximately 25 feet, and they would either have those things, or they'd have do not cross tape on
Mm-hmm.
stakes. I mean, there was one gig that I did, what they did, this was a family event, it wasn't preschoolers, but it was families. They actually had stakes in their garden, where they had family names on them, and each stake was probably 30 feet apart. And there were
Right.
little baskets that they had with little games in them for the little kids to play with, so that before the show started, as they were gathering, and it was
Right.
all pre-booked, so that they knew they would have this family and this family and this family, and they would sit there, there, and there. And the closest person to me at that particular event was, I think, 35 feet away, because there was the 25-foot line, and then they had another 10 feet behind that line before the first family. It was amazing.
Right.
Some of these places did a phenomenal job last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I have found
orange disc.
with the preschools that I am able to go to, they don't really have those options. What you just said, they're usually, if they're trying to do it outside, they don't have the space, so they're on the playground. So the hardest
That's
thing,
gonna get hot.
yeah, well, it is, and not only that, it's really hard on the teachers, because the kids assume they're going to run around. They're outside on the playground. So again, I think that's why the teachers use the chairs, which kind of inhibits the children when it comes
It
to
does. It does.
playing
So
with
does duct
toys.
tape around the ankles. That inhibits
Yeah.
the children.
It does inhibit them a little bit, yes.
And
So,
it gives them something to pick at and play with as well. It's multifunctional.
right, but it is doable. I mean, it definitely is doable, Misty. I would highly recommend that you pursue it if you want to get back into the preschools. Some of them are opening up for the summers, so summer camps.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got a few coming up, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
So I did plug Jessica's thing, and now we're plugging Rachel's thing.
Yay!
Story Crossroads. What we learned from proper. Oh no, this is a blog. Okay then.
Right.
Learn from
She
proper
did. She
distancing.
did house concerts. She did them all last summer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Rachel's really cool. She's
She
really
really
good. And
is.
her events are so well organized. I got to, when I went to see, it was the first. I think it was, if it wasn't the first virtual event that they did, it was one of the first, and it was a workshop by Chenga Zolka, and it was so well run. I mean, smooth as anything. It was such a well run thing, and that's when I got in touch with her and said, "Can I do one?"
Right. Well,
Because I was thinking of doing it myself, but they did such a great job. It was there was no need for me to do it when if Rachel was going to have
right.
was going to be saying yes, which was marvelous. Andy Davis has a quick comment. Sorry. These are so fun, Simon. Thanks for doing. Oh, okay. Thank you, Andy. If you got to go, I know Kristen had to go. Bye, Kristen. Bye, Andy.
Bye. Thanks for
It's almost
coming.
that time.
That basics of
So I,
the basics of storytelling that we were talking about earlier that
mm-hmm.
Rachel has put out. I was just blown away just in that one module, how not only how professional, not that I wasn't, I mean, I expected it because that's who Rachel is, but just the
Right,
amount
right.
of work that she had to put into putting together just that one module.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking was, holy moly. I mean, she's got kids, she's running her own business.
Right.
What is wrong with me? Because I cannot. I don't
So
know in the world.
no, there are some people. So I've known people like Rachel before. There's a good friend of mine who's an author, Jennifer Carson,
Mhm.
and she's very much like Rachel Hedman. She's an author, and I was in a writers group with her. She
Mhm.
also made puppets, and not just like hand puppets, but
Right. Like full
kind of
blown.
the kind of yeah, like Jim Henson puppets, right? Like, and they were felted, and they, and it's like she had like 4 kids, 3, 4 kids, and I'm like,
Right.
how'd you do it? Like, you've written 2 books this year, you've made this whole line of felted puppet creatures, which are phenomenal.
Right.
And you got kids. It's like, what do you? Do you sleep? Like,
Right.
do you have the thing set up with the kids that works opposite to normal? Where the kids just suck your energy out at night, and you suck the energy out of your kids. Is that what you do? You just got these pipes going from your children, draining them of energy, or do you train them to do everything for you? It's just amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kevin says something. What does Kevin say? What does he got to say? Oh, debut. Kevin wants a plug as well. 24th
Yes.
debut fusion of. And who's on that one? Is that Rachel Ann Harding? You got to put the names of people who's doing it. Don't just give me a date and debut, Kevin. Come on. Yeah. Give me some more details that people are interested in. Ah, dear. Yes, I am big on duct tape. Somebody says I do like duct tape. Actually, my son, he got into duct tape too, and he ended up making binders for his friends because we made a binder for him,
Right.
and he did a lot of the work himself for school. And I don't know how old he was. This is, I don't know. I can't even think. It must have been like 6th, 7th grade, and he
Hmm.
ended up making 2 or 3 binders for other kids in his class.
Oh,
And
wow.
they basically paid for the duct tape,
Right.
and so we went through all of our old stock of old binders and took them apart carefully, and then we rebuilt them using duct tape. And he made a Doctor Who one, which Janice would like, I think. He made a wolf one, which was Howling at the Moon, and I can't remember what the third one was, but they were really good. And
My,
and he made a cape one year that was the first thing that we did, I think, out of duct tape. We made a cape for Halloween,
I was just going to
which
say,
was
they actually, this was a few years ago. I think my daughter was still in high school, but Duct Tape sponsored a contest for prom tuxedos and prom dresses made out of
yeah,
duct tape. Like, some people take
yeah.
it all the way to a new level.
Oh, they do, they really do. It's. Oh, Rachel's commenting now. Insomnia makes it possible.
Oh,
I don't need much sleep so far. I'm sure this will change in time.
yeah, when
My
she's my
brain is
age.
active, hard to sleep when full of ideas. My best times are at night when the kids are in bed. Yes, I tend to agree with that. Yeah, I used to wake up early in the morning and have some.
Quiet time.
Misty likes the idea of a duct tape prom, which
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me in the least.
My daughter duct taped her, we bought her trumpet when she first started playing trumpet. We bought it at a pawn shop, and
Okay.
the case was beat to the devil. I mean, it was just a mess. And so she did that, and everybody wanted her then to do their trumpet case because she had used leopard print, and it was
Yeah.
hot pink and black, and yeah, it was
Did you
quite
get the
impressive.
Dayglow zebra print? That was pretty cool. We had the Dayglow zebra print. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Or no, it wasn't Dayglow. It was glow in the dark.
glow in
Glow
the
in the
dark.
dark zebra. Yeah, that was
Right.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I should have made a headband out of that or a mask and walked into Perry's room at night and be like this. Ah, dear.
After that.
Ah, yes. Yes. So what else have you got going on?
I'm just trying to keep the world from spinning out of control. With my
Yeah.
daughter's graduation and trying to book gigs, of course,
Yeah.
and trying to learn new things. I'm a pretty old dog, so teaching me some new tricks is is a challenge.
No.
No, seriously, I've been working on the story for Jessica's. Normally, I don't have to put 30 or 40 hours into a story. Normally, I can look at a story. If I like it, I can figure out how it's going to go. But this is personal narrative. And so just coming up with something was a challenge. And Jessica, if you're still on, la, 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 like cover your ears, la, la. We have a rehearsal tomorrow. I know she's being la, la, la. So we were told 8 minutes. And I always, when I'm doing a news story, I'll do it once and time it. And then I work backwards. How much do I need to cut out? I've gotten it down to 22 minutes.
Oh. Woo. Maybe you should start nearer the middle of the story and kind of just tell the back end. Right. I don't know, just a suggestion.
I know. So anyways, I still have a week. It's not actually due till next Saturday. So I'm trying not to panic. So when you ask what I have coming up right now, that's my focus.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
That is my focus right now.
So this is kind of funny. Just before you said the 20-minute thing, Jessica's like, no pressure. And then she's like, oh, wait, no, the pressure's on.
I know. Well, it started at 30 minutes. So
oh, wow. Yeah, you still got some work to go.
It's only 3 times the length it's allowed to be.
Yes, right.
So at this point, I'm thinking I might just completely start over with a totally different story.
No, you can work it down. You can chisel it down.
Yeah, maybe.
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Thank you for your encouragement.
Personal stories that always take. So Andy does some really good stories, and some of he does some really short ones, but they're killer, absolutely killer. With personal stories, it always takes me a bunch of time to reinvent my past.
Well,
I like that.
My dear friend Norris keeps saying, Via, you start with something that's true, but it doesn't have to all be true.
Right. Well, that's the whole. Yeah. Right. That's
right.
Yeah. So Norris does actually say she couldn't have taught without duct tape. Keep my room together. Oh.
Yes, Norris is a former teacher. She does a great job. She loves kids, and she does a great job telling the kids.
Yeah, I gotta find her out. I gotta check on her stuff.
Yeah.
Has she got work out there that I can find easily?
I don't know.
Norris, do you have work out there that I can find easily that I can look at? Sorry, that was a bit close. That might have been a bit scary. Woo! A strange man away from me. All right, so
right.
We're at the top of the hour, and I think that people are probably going to need to do other things. But everyone, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. Thank you, Simon.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. No, thank you for agreeing to be on it. It has been fun. So everybody, let me see if I've got anyone planned for next week, or whether I am still flying by the seat of my pants. It's all a bit crazy these days. I've been working really hard and not really doing some of the things that I should be doing. Oh, got Kevin Cordy himself next week. I'm glad I checked. Kevin is going to be my guest. That's going to be at 1 o'clock again.
1 o'clock.
And on the 30th of April, that's the following Friday. So 2 Fridays from now, that is going to be the anniversary edition of Friday with Friends.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're just teasing us. You're just teasing us, but you're not going to tell us what makes that so special, right?
Well, it was a year ago that I started it.
Right. No, I know that. Yeah. I'm just saying, but you aren't going to tell us what's going to happen, because
it'll probably the same as every show.
Well, we should wear party hats
we should. We'll get streamers and
right.
Yes, I don't know. I'll figure something out. I got 2 weeks. Maybe Papa Joe will be back and he'll help me celebrate, because he was the first. No, he wasn't. Donna Washington was the first one. 52 friends. Yes. Well, not quite 52, because I think I took a couple of weeks off because of earning money.
Right.
And people wanted to hire me on a Friday at lunchtime for some strange and bizarre reason. I'm not sure.
Hey, I'll take it.
Nearly 52. Nearly 52. Yes, right.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Anyway, folks, thanks for being here. It's wonderful that you join us. If you want to contribute to keeping me alive and well fed, or even just fed, then you can make a contribution. or at least feed my children, because I could do with losing some weight, so I could eat less and my children could eat more. But anyway, you can do that. Oops, wrong picture. No, not that one. I was talking to somebody else about that. Was me. That was my first car. Diane.
Isn't that awesome?
Concave sides to catch the wind on it, and it was made of aluminum, or as we call it in England, aluminium.
Oh.
And I was driving down this it was what they call a dual carriageway, so it's 2 lanes each way, 50 miles an hour. I'm driving along, it's a windy day, and the car lifted up and set down right down the dotted line. Luckily, there was nobody. And this is a car with drop suspension, so the car has to lift up pretty high before the wheels actually get off the ground.
Oh my word!
Very exciting. Anyway, folks, and on that note, thanks very much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on next week with Kevin Cordy. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.